I caught two identical pieces of tilapia. Same bait, same size, same everything. I put a regular hook on the first one. On the second, I wrapped 3 turns of very thin copper wire around the shank. I threw both into the same pond, same depth, 5 meters apart. In 2 hours, the regular hook caught 4 fish. The hook with copper? 13. 13 fish. Almost 3 times as many. What kind of magic is this? And why doesn't anyone tell you about this? Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any secrets from old-school fishermen. Because what you're about to discover has been omitted from fishing magazines for over 40 years. There's a very clear reason why it disappeared. And when you understand why, you'll be angry at the fishing industry. My grandfather used to fish on the San Francisco River in the 1960s. He and the other boatmen from Pirapora had a trick they passed down from father to son. When the fishing was slow, when the fish were wary, they would take a small piece of copper wire. From those old electrical wiring wires, they would strip it and wrap it 3 or 4 times tightly around the shank of the hook. Simple as that. And the fish would come. It wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't luck. It was pure science that they couldn't even explain properly. But they knew it worked. In the 50s and 60s, you saw this everywhere. In the Pantanal, Pacu fishermen did it. In Paraná, during the Golden Dorado season, they did it. In the Amazon, for Tucunaré and Piraíba, they did it. Each region had its own way of using copper. Some wrapped it directly around the hook. Others made a copper ring and passed the line through it before tying it. There were even those who made small spirals and placed them on the bait itself. And you know what was so special about it? It cost 0. Literally 0. Any leftover piece of electrical wire could be turned into dozens of fishing hook turbochargers. A single meter of wire could be used to make 60, 70 turns. And the copper? It didn't wear out. It didn't spoil. You could use the same wire for months on end. Fishing magazines from the 1960s even talked about it. They had articles teaching about it. Tricks of the Riverside Masters, secrets of professional fishermen. You'd open the Pesca and Compañía magazine from 1967, and it was there. You'd open Pescador Moderno from 1971, and it was there. After 1978, it disappeared. It evaporated, as if it had never existed. And look how curious. Do you know what started appearing in its place? Chemical attractants, artificial garlic gel, concentrated shrimp essences, miracle sprays, all packaged, all trademarked, all with a short expiration date, all expensive. Coincidence? Of course not. The fishing equipment industry exploded in the 1970s. American companies began to dominate the Brazilian market. They brought technology, they brought innovation, they brought modern products, and they also brought a business model, selling products that eventually run out, products that you need to buy again, month after month, year after year. A copper wire? You buy it once and use it for a lifetime. It doesn't generate profit. It doesn't create repeat customers. Even worse, it works better than the expensive chemical products they wanted to sell you. So they did what any large industry does when a cheap and efficient method threatens profits. They shut it down. They stopped publishing about it. They stopped teaching about it. They started ridiculing it. Old fishermen's superstition, they said. Superstition, placebo effect. They filled the magazines with advertisements for garlic gel at 30 reais a bottle, for sardine spray at 45, for squid essence at 58 reais. And the worst part? It worked. Not their product. The strategy of erasing knowledge. An entire generation of fishermen grew up without knowing this. They grew up buying little bottles of chemical attractant that last for 3 fishing trips, spending 150 reais a month on cutting-edge technology. Meanwhile, deep in the interior of Mato Grosso, in the backwoods of Tocantins, in forgotten riverside communities, the old fishermen continued wrapping copper around their hooks, catching 3 times more fish than any weekend tourist with their box full of store-bought goods. Want to know how to do it? I'll teach you exactly the way my grandfather taught me, and the way his father taught him. You'll need copper wire, regular electrical wire, the kind used for residential installations. Ideally, use the 1.5 millimeter thick wire, the brown or orange one that comes inside the cable. It doesn't need to be new. Left over from a construction project, an old piece, it doesn't matter. If you don't have any, go to an electrical supply store and ask for half a meter. It will cost about 3 reais. With half a meter, you can make enough material for years of fishing. Strip the wire. Remove all the plastic coating. You only want pure, shiny copper. Clean it well with a dry cloth to remove any dirt or dark oxidation. The copper needs to be clean. Cut pieces of fish skin about 5 centimeters long. Each piece will be enough to wrap around a hook. 5 centimeters makes about 4 or 5 tight turns. Now grab your fishing hook. It can be any model, any size. It works with a small hook for small fish. It works with a large hook for catfish. The technique is the same. You're going to wrap the copper wire around the shank of the hook. Start right below the eye where you tie the line. Wrap it tightly. 1 turn right next to the other. 3 to 5 turns are enough. You don't need more than that. Always wrap in the same direction without leaving any space between the turns. Done! Your turbocharged fishing hook is ready. It will cost about 15 cents per hook, if that. You can prepare several at once and store them in a small box. The copper doesn't spoil. It doesn't oxidize to the point of ceasing to function. You can use the same hook dozens of times, and it works with any type of bait. Earthworms, large earthworms, small fish, pieces of fish, dough, corn, sausage. It doesn't matter. Copper enhances any natural bait. This will already triple your results, but want to boost it even more. There are tricks that fishermen in the Pantanal have discovered that make a huge difference. First secret, use new copper in dirty water. Copper that has just been peeled, very shiny, works best in muddy water or water with algae. The shine of the copper reflects light and visually attracts fish as well. In crystal clear water, you can use older, somewhat matte copper. It works the same way because there the effect is not visual. Second secret, for traíra, wolf fish, tucunaré, peacock bass, and any aggressive and territorial fish, wrap the copper closer to the hook point. 2 turns near the curve. This intensifies the electromagnetic field right where the fish will bite. The result? They attack with more violence. The hook set becomes firmer. Third secret, for bottom-dwelling fish, like catfish, armored catfish, and piosu, do it differently. Wrap the copper wire around the hook, but before casting the line into the water, rub the hook with the copper wire on a rock or cement floor. Just a quick rub. This creates micro-scratches on the copper that accelerate the chemical reaction in the water. The effect is strongest in the first 20 minutes. Fourth secret, this one is pure gold. Combine 2 metals. Wrap 3 turns of copper. Then, on top of that, wrap 2 turns of very thin galvanized wire. You know, that fence wire? It creates a real battery. The potential difference between copper and zinc from the galvanized wire is greater. The electromagnetic field becomes more intense. It works incredibly well for dorado and piau fish. And there's more. There are timing secrets. Waxing and full moon? Use bright, new copper. The fish are more active, more aggressive, and the new copper maximizes this. Waning and new moon? Use older copper, which has already been exposed to water a few times. The effect is more subtle and works better when the fish are wary. Early morning, first hour of light, copper works best. Do you know why? Colder water temperature. The electrical conductivity of cold water is different. The electromagnetic field generated by copper propagates better. Result? It attracts fish from further away. Late afternoon, after 4 o'clock, same thing. Temperature dropping. Fish starting to feed before nightfall. Copper working at its peak. Now, there are fishermen on the Araguaia River who do something ingenious. They take thicker copper wire, 2 millimeters in diameter, and make rings. Small copper rings, about 2 centimeters in diameter. They pass the fishing line through the ring before tying it to the hook. The ring remains loose on the line, sliding. When the fish bites, the ring descends and vibrates near its mouth. It increases the stimulation even more. Piranha? It goes crazy. Dorado? It attacks as if it had been challenged. In the Pantanal region, there's a specific trick for catching pacu. They wrap the copper wire around the bait, but leave a small piece of the wire tip loose, about 3 millimeters. It looks like a little antenna. They say it imitates the antennae of freshwater shrimp. The pacu, which loves shrimp, comes to investigate. And when it senses the electromagnetic field of the copper, plus the vibration of the bait, that's it. It eats without suspecting a thing. Want to know what happens scientifically when you put copper in water along with bait? First, galvanic corrosion. Copper in contact with water creates an electrochemical reaction. Copper ions are released into the water in microscopic quantities. These ions have an electrical charge, and fish detect electric fields. All fish have a sensory system called the lateral line. It's a series of specialized cells along the body that detect vibrations, water currents, and weak electric fields. Predatory fish have this system highly developed. They use it to hunt. They use it to detect prey hidden in the mud, behind rocks, inside logs. When you put copper in water, you're creating a weak electromagnetic field. Super weak, but detectable. And to fish, that looks like live prey. Everything that's alive generates small electric fields because of muscle activity, nerves, and a beating heart. Copper mimics that. There's more. The reaction between copper and water releases traces of metallic ions that have a smell. Not to us, but to fish? They have olfactory receptors millions of times more sensitive than ours. They can detect a drop of blood in 1 million liters of water. They can smell copper ions from meters away. And here's the key point. Many of the fish's natural prey contain copper in their composition. Crustaceans, mollusks, some aquatic insects. The blood of many invertebrates uses hemocyanin instead of hemoglobin. Hemocyanin contains copper. So when the fish detects copper ions, its brain interprets it as food available. It's instinct. Millions of years of evolution programming the response. Researchers at the University of Miami conducted a study in 2003 with Seabase. They measured the electrical activity of the fish's brains when exposed to different stimuli. Copper in the water? It activated the same brain areas that activate when the fish sees real prey. Same neurological response. The fish cannot differentiate between them. There's another mechanism. Copper accelerates the decomposition of amino acids in the bait. Amino acids are compounds that form when protein breaks down, and amino acids in water are one of the most powerful attractants for fish. It's the smell of fresh meat decomposing that attracts predators and scavengers. Copper acts as a catalyst for this reaction. It accelerates the release of amino acids from your bait into the water. Result? The bait becomes fragrant to the fish faster and for longer. Now some people say, but there are store-bought products that do the same thing. That's a lie. Most chemical attractants use synthetic amino acids, betaine, and concentrated extracts. Do they work? Yes, they do. But for how long? 20 minutes, half an hour at most. Then it all dissolves and that's it. You need to reapply. 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 Copper? It's there all the time. Generating electromagnetic fields all the time. Releasing ions all the time. Catalyzing the breakdown of amino acids all the time. You cast the line at 6 in the morning, and at 2 in the afternoon, the copper is still working. And some people say, but what about the toxicity of copper to fish? The amounts released are minuscule, scientifically irrelevant. The water that comes out of your tap has more dissolved copper than a small hook with 3 turns of line will release in 10 hours of fishing. Want to see the difference in practice? Do the math with me. A jar of well-known brand garlic attractant gel, 52 Reyes. According to the manufacturer, it yields 20 applications. That's enough for 4 or 5 fishing trips if you're careful. Cost per fishing trip, about 10 Reais. That's being generous with the price. Half a meter of copper wire, 3 Reais. That's enough material to make about 50 fishing hooks. You use it, wash it, store it, reuse it. Let's say each piece of copper lasts 20 fishing trips. It lasts much longer. 50 hooks times 20 fishing trips, 1,000 fishing trips. Cost per fishing trip, 0.3 cents. You read that right? 0.3 of a cent per fishing trip. The difference is 10 reais to 0.003 reais. More than 3,000 times cheaper. And it works better. But stores don't sell because it's not efficient. Wrong. Stores don't sell because it's not profitable. How do you sell something that a customer buys once and uses forever? How do you create dependency? How do you generate repeat purchases? You can't do it. So you don't sell it. The industry tried. In the 90s, hooks with metal ion technology started appearing. They were copper-plated hooks, or hooks that came with a small copper ring already soldered on. They charged 3 or 4 times the price of a normal hook. The problem? The plating was too thin. After 2 or 3 fishing trips, I'd wear them out. And then it would become a normal hook again. They stopped manufacturing them. Not because they didn't work. Because people discovered it was cheaper to make them at home with loose copper wire. A loss for the industry. So they went back to the model that works for them. A consumable product that runs out and you buy it again. Gels, sprays, essences, effervescent tablets. Everything with an expiration date. Everything with exclusive technology. Everything expensive. There's a manufacturer that sells ion-releasing tablets. Guess what that is? Pressed copper sulfate with a binder. It dissolves in water and releases copper ions. 28 reais for a box of 6 tablets. Each tablet lasts for 1 fishing trip. You can achieve the same effect with 10 cents worth of copper wire wrapped around a fishing hook. And reuse it. But they won't tell you that. The system was built for you to spend money. For you to depend on it. For you to think that without store-bought products you can't fish. That you need cutting-edge technology, secret formulas, imported essences. You don't need that. You need knowledge. The knowledge that the old people had. The knowledge that worked before everything was turned into a product. So how will you use this on your next fishing trip? Separate 10 hooks. Wrap 5 of them in copper, leave 5 plain. Prepare the lines with identical bait. Cast half with copper, half without. Test it yourself. See the difference. Count the fish at the end of the day. Then you decide if you want to continue spending 50 Rs a month on garlic gel, or if you want to spend 3 Rs once in your life. Store your copper-coated fish hooks in a dry box. It can be one of those mint or medicine boxes. It doesn't matter. No special care is needed. Copper doesn't spoil. If it starts to get too dark or oxidized, just rub it with a dry steel wool pad, and it will shine again. Before using, if the copper has been stored for a long time, give it a quick rub with a cloth. This reactivates the surface. 5 seconds of work. In the water, there's no secret. He uses it like any normal bait. He casts it, waits, slingshots it. The difference is that the fish will come faster and bite with more conviction. If you fish in flowing water, in a river, copper works even better. The current moves the water around the hook, distributing the ions faster and covering a larger area. It also works in still water, like a pond or reservoir. It just takes a little longer for the effect to spread. And you can combine it with other old tricks. Add more crushed black pepper to the bait on the hook. Double the effect. Add more coagulated chicken blood mixed into the dough. Triple it. Old fishermen didn't use just one technique. They used several together. Decades of accumulated knowledge became an arsenal of tricks that made any fishing trip easy. They didn't need a store. They didn't need a brand. They didn't need a new product every month. They needed insight, observation, testing, and conversation. Fishermen passed on knowledge to fishermen. On the river, in the bar, by the fire. Unfiltered, without trade secrets, without patents. This was stolen from you. Stolen by an industry that decided knowledge doesn't sell. What sells is addiction. That script you just read? It's worth more than any product in a store. Because it makes you independent. It gives you power. It puts you in control. How many times have you gone to a fishing store and left with a bag full of expensive products that promised miracles but delivered mediocre results? How many times have you spent 150 rays on equipment and returned home with only 2 small fish? While the old man sitting next to you with his bamboo rod and thin line came back with a bucket full of fish, he knew. He had the knowledge. And now you have it too. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications. Leave a like. Share this video with that friend of yours who spends a fortune on lures and complains that they don't catch anything. Comment below. I'm going to try copper. I want to see the results. I want to know if it worked for you too. I want this knowledge to spread. I want it to become normal again. I want it to stop being a secret. The industry erased this from magazines, but it can't erase it from the internet. It can't silence those who know and want to teach.